Hi there, everyone. This is Jeanne-Marie Taylor from Jeanne-Marie Taylor Muse on Facebook. Welcome to your next morning muse. And I just want to remind everyone, oh, by the way, today is March 31st, 2020. I want to remind everyone that I am sometimes recording a message later on in the day or even at night, sometimes after nightfall. I'm sitting on my porch and enjoying the sound of the crickets and enjoying just the dark, the stillness, and you can absolutely join me for that. I'm not doing it every single night, but I'm doing it several nights. So just be aware of that, because I'm told my voice helps people fall asleep. I don't take that personally at all. I think it's high praise. I would love to help you fall asleep if you are ever feeling sort of keyed up at the end of the day. I would be so honored for you to listen to my evening messages. So today, what's inspiring me, what's been on my mind this morning is Anne Frank. Anne Frank, she was born in 1929. She transitioned not too long after that. She was a very, very young woman. She was a girl. She transitioned in 1945. And if you're not familiar with her, she was a German Jewish girl noted for her diary. It was called The Diary of a Young Girl. We sometimes also call it The Diary of Anne Frank. And it was published posthumously after her death in 1953. And it records her experiences and the experiences of her family. They hid from the Nazis for 2 years. They were, again, German, but they had traveled to Amsterdam, but the Nazis invaded Amsterdam. And it's just such an inspiring story that she has. I feel that even though she was a teenager when she wrote this, a young teenager, she was actually quite wise beyond her years. And we can learn a lot from her example, especially now while some of us are feeling cooped up. So she and her, just a couple of family members, I think it was maybe a total of maybe it was 7 people actually. They were in approximately 450 square feet. That's a tiny, tiny, tiny amount of space. They were up in an attic. They actually had to sort of shift where they were staying, where they were hiding a couple of times, but they had to shelter in place. They had no choice. We all know that there were concentration camps back then. So this was a matter of life and death, kind of similar, not exact, but similar in that we now have a life and death situation that's making it very, very important for us to shelter in place and stay home. She did end up dying in a concentration camp, but boy, did she give us an amazing legacy in the form of her diary. So I wanted to read to you just some of my favorite quotes, and then we're going to do a quick mindfulness meditation. Oh, are you enjoying this? The sounds of the birds beyond what I'm saying in the background there. God, it's just such a beautiful day here in Louisiana. So one of the things that I love that Anne Frank said is, I can't imagine how anyone can say I'm weak and then remain so. After all, if you know it, why not fight against it? Why not try to train your character? I so believe that. And I think that there's actually a great amount of power in admitting that we're weak, in admitting that some of us are having trouble with staying home. Thankfully, I'm not one. I'm just, I work alone. And so I'm really used to being alone, and it just doesn't bother me at all. But it's really getting to some people I know, and I have a lot of empathy for that. But I really love this approach here, which calls upon us to sort of just like admit that we're weak, admit what the problem is, but then to fight against it, not to just be satisfied with telling our friends and family, oh, this is really hard for me, I'm really struggling, but to go past that and to try to entrain your character. Because just as Anne Frank had to shelter in place with her family in this tight little compartment for 2 years, pretty much, almost 2 years. Just as that was the case, It is also the case that we don't know how long our self-imposed isolation will have to last because of COVID-19. So it's really important that we start to buckle down and really challenge ourselves to get a little bit stronger where we can. Her next quote, an empty day, though clear and bright, is still just as dark as any night. Well, what did she mean by that? A day empty of activity. And so I just want to remind all of us, it is so important. One of the best things that we can do if we can't get out is to still not have an empty day. We need to give ourselves things to do. We need to give ourselves things to focus on, things to accomplish. This is not a good time to stop making your daily things to do list. If that helps you to order your day, go ahead and do it. Even if it's just, I'm going to watch Netflix for 3 hours because I'm kind of burned out on Facebook and that's all I can do. Well, that's just fine. But make yourself a little list. Set a few goals right now. It really will help. Next quote from her. I don't think of all the misery. I think of the beauty that still remains. That's such an amazing thing for a teenager to have come up with, right? We can learn so much from her. That's really true. We really can focus our minds on the positive. I know that it sounds Pollyanna-ish, but when we do that, it really can help. And though she was really trapped, really contained, not able to go out, not even to get groceries or anything else, she somehow gave us this wonderful morsel. The good news, she said, is that you don't know how great you can be. You don't know how much you can love, what you can accomplish, and what your potential is. And it's so important to understand that she was saying this. She was saying these things. She was writing and thinking these things while she was in captivity. And so I just really think it's important for us to think about her example and remember her example, remember her strength, remember her wisdom. And if she can survive it, well, gosh darn it, so can we. Now, I want to give you a quick tip for how to deal with anxiety if you are having anxiety right now, if you are feeling overwhelmed. I'm not going to give you a long meditation. It's going to be a really quick thing that you can do at any time. So the first thing you can do, and if you listened to last night's recording, you might have heard a taste of this. So the first thing you can do is focus on 5 things that you can see. And you can do it right now. Just join with me in doing it. And just for fun, I think I'll tell you my 5. So I'm seeing beautiful magnolia leaves in front of me, right off my porch, because I have a magnolia tree right next to the porch. I'm seeing a blue sky with a lot of fluffy clouds. I am seeing areas that could probably benefit from a little bit of sweeping or dusting. I am seeing chairs. And over in the distance, in the corner of my porch, I'm seeing a garbage can. Now, why are we doing this? Well, this is sort of a be here now exercise. This is a mindfulness exercise. And when you focus on making a little list like that, what it forces you to do is, instead of projecting your consciousness out into the future of, oh no, how am I going to handle this? It just brings you right here to the current moment, right here to the now moment. It just helps to still your mind. You're using your mind, but it helps to still your mind in terms of worries or anxieties or unwanted, unhelpful thoughts. So the next thing that you can do is describe or list 4 things that you can hear. I'm laughing because I know you can hear what's around me. So I can hear birds. I'm hearing a branch scrape across the metal roof of my porch. I am hearing the sound of our septic system. We live out in the country, so we have a septic system. And I hear the sound of my amazing dog, Oscar, right next to me. I just hear him getting comfortable and relaxing. Okay, so the next thing that you do for the exercise is you name 3 things that you can feel. So for me, I can feel him. I can feel his fur next to me. I can feel a breeze coming in through the screen here. And I can feel the air is cool and damp. And now that we're a couple of minutes, now that we're 3 or 4 minutes into this exercise, wow, I don't know about you, but I mean, I'm just feeling like way more relaxed. So I'm loving it. This really does work. And then the next thing to do is to tell yourself 2 things that you can smell. So take a deep breath in and let it out, and just try to focus on your nose. What are you smelling, if anything? I smell that comes after a rain. You know that smell? You know that smell if you're out in the country, which is where I am, and it rains. It's kind of a smell of like wet mud. That's what I'm smelling, like wet leaves, wet mud. And there's also a little bit of a smell of some flowers that are blooming nearby. Okay, so the next thing that we do, the last thing that we do, is one message for yourself from your higher self. What do I mean by that? Your higher self, your higher consciousness. It could be, you might experience it as a voice above you. You might experience it as a voice of wisdom that is connected to you. You might experience it as a voice from the angels. But if you have one message that you just spontaneously, just really quick, like the snap of a finger, just your gut response. If I say, what's your message for yourself? What would you say? And I can tell you that mine was this. I heard the words, be calm and carry on. Be calm and carry on. What message do you have for yourself? Just lickety split, don't think about it, what comes in. And then that is a message from your higher self to you. It might be a message to call someone you love and just remind them that you love them. It might be a message to just go and lie down and relax, and it's going to be okay, and it's okay to rest. But whatever that message is, I just want to thank everybody who's taken a few minutes to be here with me. And I will be back either later tonight or I'll be back tomorrow, but I am here for the duration. This is a very hard time that we're going through right now, and I want you to know that I have told myself I don't have to show up perfectly. I don't have to be a fountain of wisdom, but I'm going to be showing up every day. You can count on that. And I hope that just being together, just hearing a comforting voice, being with someone who just thinks you're great and just wants you to know how wonderful you are and how powerful you remain. I hope that that helps. I hope that presence will help. I hope my presence in some way will help. And I would love to hear any feedback, thoughts, comments, or suggestions. So this is Jeanne-Marie Taylor from Jeanne-Marie Taylor Muse on Facebook. I thank you so much for spending your time with me today, and I'll talk to you again really soon.